Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Game of Thrones Winter's Coming. Today we are taking a look at the 4th week of Glorious Battle. Most things have basically been decided at this point. There are some things we can talk about that has happened during the last week and so on, of course. Basically, Scarlet had all of this after week 3. We took it away from them in during this week as well, and Purple faction also took a little bit away from them. They have been expanding up towards the Pink, have been fighting there. Originally, when the Middle Glorious City opened up, Purple faction had it. We had a fight with them yesterday to gain control of it, so right now we are having the majority control of the map, and yeah, Green is sitting in the corner not doing that much. Orange has been, Lord Swain has been pushing back a little bit, trying to get some of the points back, but they are struggling a little bit. And then Justice faction has also been fighting a little bit here and there, trying to get some of the powers back. And all in all, we are now down to missing 3 days, I think. And the rankings are, as you can see here, Lord Swain 600 points, Tempest 1000, Frost 1800, Scarlet 2400, Justice 2600, Shadow faction 1100, 400, 1100, yeah, and 400 after. Aegis faction 23,700, and then us in a long reach faction are at 26,700 at the top. So right now, basically, the big difference maker for us is the fact that we captured the Glorious City in the middle, and that's of course obviously going to help us for pushing forward. The goal for us is basically just to keep chipping away a little bit at Purple, take some of their points, since they basically go in double directions. So if you take, for example, this point, it will basically an 800 points difference rather than 400, since we get the 400 points and they lose the 400 points. So we are trying to manage things so that we don't have to fight more than necessary to get the win, but at the same time we also keep in mind that we of course should not throw away the win. We expect that they will probably contest us at the end for the middle city at the end of the event, to try and see if they can get it, and that's going to basically be the deciding factor. But we have prepared for it in several ways. We have been putting a good amount of resources into the fortress, so in worst case scenario we can basically deploy directly from the fortress, and that way finish up the deed very fast. So that's how it looks like right now for us. Of course, now that we are in the 4th week, there are some things that I've been asked about. I've been mainly asked about the casualty rate, because a lot of people feel like when they're reading the reports that the casualty rate doesn't match what the actual numbers show in the report. I've been asked about the dragon scales and how they impact the game in general, and also have been asked about the world progression quest, and we can take a look at this here right now. You can see the last world progression quest is basically whoever hosts a Glorious City will get the rewards, which means this is a faction based request, if you can say that, quest, and only the one that has it basically completes it. Everyone else doesn't complete it. Peace Disrupted was the first that we had. I believe that this was for the whole battlefield with 300 armaments, which you completed. Then we had the countdown where your faction influence has reached 800, which means that you had to capture X amount of buildings within your area. So basically this was a board quest, this was a faction quest, then we had a faction quest again with armament trades, then we had a board quest, then a faction quest, faction quest, and then I think it was a board quest and then faction quest as well. So it's basically like 40% is board quest and 60% is faction quest, and personally the rewards are okay. They are not anything huge, but they are helpful and they give you some things to do, I guess, something to work towards. I would prefer that we may be slightly higher, but that's for a different video. But overall, like, the quests are fairly straightforward, rather simple, and yeah. So now we're going to take a look at what was the main idea behind this video, of course. Let's see what we have in store for the Glorious Battle Week for information, I suppose we can call it like that. We have the entire talk about casualty rate. I will try and clarify things to why the numbers doesn't always match what you're expecting. Then there's the entire debate about dragon skills and dragons in general in the event, of course, which has a huge impact. And then the world progression at the end. So, casualty rate. Casualty rate is what determines how many of your troops get killed in battle, and how many troops you kill in battle as well. There are skills in all 3 military positions that increases your enemy casualty rate or decreases your own casualty rate, giving you an advantage when fighting. And the skills in this case, I mean talents, in the talent trees, because I believe both in defense, offense, and as well in logistics, there's at least the one that decreases the amount of kills you will take, I mean decrease your own casualty rate. And in defense and offense, there might also be the skills for the, I know in offense, but I'm not sure about defense, that increases the enemy casualty rate as well, so they take more kills or end up losing more troops basically that way. The potion buildings on the map gives you entire faction casualty rate boost as well, making them strategically good for PvP fights. I believe each building gives 5% extra casualty rate, so if you have, let's say, 4 buildings, then you basically have 20% extra casualty rate over that, and that's a huge thing. And then again, it might not be as huge as you think, because something that people haven't noticed or seen is this little part here, which is also from the rules and was added into it. Battle losses. In Glorious Battle, troops take real damage, but because of Blessings of the 7, 40% of all lost troops will be revived. Of your remaining troops, a base amount of 20% will die, but the final death rate may be lessened based on your city affairs, military position, city, and dragon skills. And this, of course, also makes things a little bit more complicated in terms of calculating the casualty rate. Basically, what you can derive from this is that your base amount of troops will be 20%, which will die. But because 40% of all troops will be revived, in reality, you will take less. You will basically only have 12% die, because 40% will be revived, which is basically the same as 8% of the 20. That's 40% basically. This of course also means that if you have a, let's say that you have a casualty rate of 20 or 30, 20, enemy has casualty rate of 10, so you basically overrule it with 10%, so the enemy takes 10% casualty rate, which means that out of 100k troops he should lose 10%, which is 10k. But because of how the system works, then he will lose the 10k, but 40% will be revived, which is 4k. So he will in reality only lose 6k troops out of the 100k. And people don't really realize that that's how it works. And that of course also influences both on your own side, but also on the enemy side. And at the start of the event, when it was out, this particular part didn't work. They patched it out around halfway inside the event, they patched it out, so that you would not have that many and that heavy losses when dealing with PvP fights or NPC fights. So keep that in mind when you are dealing with casualty rate. So you always have to take the final number and then basically take 40% away of that final number, and then you will actually get the real casualty rate or the real amount of troops that you're getting of your own opponent, and then the numbers will also most likely match up better. Now next up, there's the dragon skills. Even in Glorious Battle, dragon skills are vital for the most important. But the most important one currently is the reinforcement skill. And now you might wonder, why is the reinforcement skill the most important one? Well, you see, the reinforcement skill adds a percentage of extra soldiers to your army, which acts as a meat shield in battles. At max rank, the skill gives you up to a 60k extra meat shield that has to be broken through to actually deal damage, which means that if you're fighting against someone strong and you can't break through the reinforcement skill at all, he will not lose any troops. You will lose troops, but you won't lose any troops. Which means that you basically hammer against an invisible wall that you have to break down before you actually get into damaging the player. And that is a problem in this specific mode, because that means that even if you have the idea of trying to chip away or add resilience of some players, it might help, but if there's no real strong player to take on that reinforcement skill player, then he will never take damage, and he will just basically keep killing troops without losing anyone, and that makes it really troublesome. And that's also why a lot of people actually went bow setup for NPCs, because bows doesn't get countered in any way. So bows can basically, if they're strong enough, can just mow down the NPC waves without any trouble, and that way you basically can take NPC stuff for free while others might not have realized it, end up smacking against NPC castles, get countered, and start losing, like getting chipped off slowly, despite having the shield on, or the skill on. There are other skills such as Reroute, Army Attack, and Legion, which gives you an advantage in fighting both NPC and PvP battles in Glorious Battle, making the Dragon an extremely powerful tool in the event. Now, imagine that you are fighting a guy with the reinforcement skill. He has 60k extra meat shield in front, and not only that, he also has a Reroute army skill, which basically cuts a certain percentage away of your army. So not only do you have less troops to work with, you also have to break through more troops at the enemy side. And that's why right now the dragons are probably the most broken part of this event. And I'm not entirely sure about it, but I believe there are some dragons that have also cast rate and stuff like that skills built in, or that you can get. So it makes this event really costly if you run into the wrong faction or the wrong person. And that doesn't mean that the event is bad, but that just means that potentially in the future they should consider how they want the dragon integrated into this event, or if they should do it similar to Siege of Winterfell, where dragons are basically banished from the event. I personally will take my take on it for the next week's video. I will do basically a video that compiles my experiences of the event, probably also some footage of the last day and such, and then I'll try and give my ideas to how to balance the event, what works for it, what doesn't work for it, and so on. But dragon skills as a whole right now are super broken. They are really strong, and probably the strongest part of the event that has to be looked at. If you have those skills and they do not touch them or balance them anyway, then you're pretty much set up well for the next season already, or for the actual season. But as it is right now, at least. Now lastly, we're taking a look at the world progression. World progression is a series of quests that open up throughout the Glorious Battle event, and those quests give certain rewards based on completion. And I showed you them in the section before. Some of the events, what the rewards are, and what's done with them. Keep in mind, these are time-based, which means that they do not all open up at the same time. It's only the first quest that opens up to begin with, then a couple of days later, the second quest opens up, and so on and so on. Right now we have the last quest, which finishes on the day, or the time when the event finishes, and because of that, it's only basically completed at that specific time. World progression quests are split up into quests you can do in your own faction, as well as quests that are done by combined effort of all factions, which you saw just now as well, or that I talk about as well. Roughly 40% is done by the map, 60% is done by the faction, so keep that in mind as well. And rewards are given to you if the quest is cleared, which can help your faction move forward, or give advantages to opposing factions if they can complete something you can complete, for example. And now you can see here basically the amount of quests that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quests are in total. I wouldn't mind if they added a 10th quest, to be honest, to put in, because sometimes, at least at the start, it's a little bit slow, so an extra quest in there could maybe spice things up a little bit somewhere, I would say. But at least I would encourage people, even if you can't do much on this map or NPCs and so on, try and do whatever you can for your own faction at least, and to help other factions as well. Of course it sucks, but you still get some rewards out of it, and personally I would say getting something out of it is better than just not giving anything at all. But of course it's a joint effort basically. I hope that they do some changes to it. I would like slightly better rewards from the reward progression. It's not vital, but I can imagine that some people will be like, they don't want to do it, it's not worth it, so on, so on. But try to do it anyways. But it's fun. It gives people that don't exactly participate in the front line maybe something to do in the back row. That's something you should keep in mind. But yeah, this kind of covers what I wanted to bring out in this video. Next week's video is going to be a general experience video about how I feel like about this event, both from a winning point standpoint and losing standpoint I suppose, but a general experience standpoint, to kind of get an idea of what can be balanced, what should be balanced, what should be looked at, and stuff like that. And yeah, so that's going to be all for me this time around. Like and comment if you want to, it helps out the channel, of course. Subscribe to the channel if you want to, if you like the videos, the content's coming. I'll keep them coming. I'll probably make an update video as well, because we had a new update recently, so look forward to that. And yeah, if you want the link to the music, it's down in the description below. If you want to play the game, it's also in the description below. And if you want to join the Game of Thrones Discord group, it's also in the description down below. And this is going to take care of things for this time around with Glorious Battle. Like I said, experience video will be up next week, and that should be something interesting, something more free, I suppose. But yeah, good luck with Glorious Battle the last few days. We have a new event coming up soon as well, and things are looking to be somewhat interesting. I will have to retrain my troops at least, because Glorious Battle has been very expensive for me. But yeah, take care guys, have fun, bye bye.